I am going to introduce our two presenters. We have Selvin Arevalo and Alejandra Calderon from GT Independence.
Good afternoon.
Selvin can say hello too.
Yes, I was taking out my mute. I'm sorry about that. Good afternoon, everyone. Thank you guys for having us.
And our other presenter is from SLEA, SLEA Therapies, and his name is Ben Gonzalez, and he's going to do a presentation for you as well.
Hi, so glad to be here, everybody.
So, I'm gonna just pick GT first because you happen to be first on my list here. So go ahead and take it away.
Okay, well, I want to start off by thanking Christiana for this platform to share the resources, that FMS can help to move forward in the self-determination program. I do want to let you know, that GT does have a new leadership change going on with that coming along, a lot of changes are happening in GT Independence. Before we were mainly as uh, just enrolling families and just waiting for their spending plan to have ready and getting them in. But we're working more in collaboration with IFs and families and service providers. So we're trying to have them trying to collaborate them in early on the process of the self-determination program, which means like we're trying to help them with the HCBS waiver and educating families on the HCBS waiver on what it needs for vendors to have to onboard, business license, because what we're doing is when we were getting a lot of the families in self-determination, we are just enrolling them and they already had their service providers on their spending plan. And then we would come across where the vendor didn't have a business license or they were in the wrong service code. So now what we've decided is to see if we can help out the process earlier on so that we can avoid those type of situations. Currently, GT doesn't have any waiting list. Our payroll burden is 18%. We're provide enrollments under the bill payer model and the sole employer model. We help out the families because I know some of the things that barriers is on the sole employer model. They want to know the workers' comp, how do you do that and so on. So one of the things that we try to make it easier in GT Independence is that you can buy the workers' comp under GT Independence so that it can be a smoother process, or you can bring in your own policy also. So we again we're trying to help out the families also, because I know just like Christiana was saying, some IFs have waiting lists and so on, or they don't families don't have an IF. So GT Independence also has a spending plan generator so that families can create their own spending plan. It has all the service codes. It has all the 21 regional centers on there, and it's something that families might just use to get started in between getting an IF. We do really urge families to get an IF because they're really advocates. They're very experienced, and they're really really key in trying to in supporting the family during that process. Some of the things that we have in GT Independence is the caregiver app, where we provide families, the employees, an easy way to monitor their hours by clocking in and clocking out. We have a brief video if you, Christiana, would let us share with that about the caregiver app. Mm-hmm,
Absolutely.
mm-hmm. Okay, let me get this. Okay. Can you all see?
You
Yes.
begin a shift, you'll need to clock in.
From your dashboard, start a new time entry by selecting the Clock In button. You can also start a time entry by tapping the round yellow timer. When the Clock In screen appears, the information may already be filled in. If you notice anything wrong, tap the field to change it. Clock In time. This shows the exact time you selected the Clock In button. You can change this time at the end of your shift if needed. Expected duration is optional. This is how long you expect your shift to last. A notification will remind you to clock out when your shift is over. Name of participant. This is the name of the person you are serving, your employer. Service code is required. This is the code that describes the service you provide. Choose the service code that matches the support you're providing during this shift. Set as default clock-in selections. If you work a typical shift often, meaning the same service code and same hours, you can toggle this setting on. This saves your clock-in settings to just 2 clicks. Clock In button. This gets your shift started. The active timer will appear on your dashboard. After you clock in, the timer will run for your entire shift, even if you close the app. You can close the app and start with your shift. The app will not use your phone battery when closed, even though your timer keeps running. If you have any further questions, please contact customer support. Thanks for watching!
So we have a lot of these type of videos.
When your shift is over, it's time to clock out. Open the GT app. The active timer will still be counting on your dashboard. Tap the View More button. This opens the active timer. Tap the Clock Out button. The app will ask you to confirm your clock out. If you're ready to clock out, select Proceed. Once you proceed, you'll see the following details about your shift. The service date you clocked in will always be displayed. If the date is incorrect, you can tap it to adjust. If you adjust the date, select Done to save the new date. Time in is when you clocked in. If the time is incorrect, you can tap it to adjust. Select Done to save the new time. Select Out at midnight if you ended your shift at midnight. Timeout is the time you clock out. If the time is incorrect, you can tap it to adjust. Select Done to save the new time. Check to make sure that the name of the participant you entered at the start of your shift is correct. This is your boss. Add the official code for the service you're providing. Make sure the number you entered at the start of your shift is correct. You cannot combine a time entry with a temporary service code. See the temporary service code video for more details. Select all the services you provided during your shift from the list. In some states, this is an optional field. Health screening helps agencies make sure the participant is staying safe and healthy. This field is optional. Write any important notes about your shift here. You can also use voice to text. You, your participant, and your agency can read the notes on the portal. In some states, detailed notes may be required. Review your shift details, then tap Sign and Submit. You can edit your time entry if your participant did not approve it yet. Simply tap the time entry on your dashboard to make changes. If you have any further questions, please contact customer support. Thanks for watching!
So like I was saying, we have a lot of videos like that. We're trying to do some more webinars, and we're trying to create webinars. But we're always looking for families if they want to get a tutorial on the spending plan generator. We're open to do that. We have representatives that have each regional center, so you can get in contact with them, and they'll go into getting a tutorial, scheduling a tutorial with you. So again, one of the things that we do also at GT is that we, just like Christiana was saying, that FMSs are different. So we have consultation meeting that we meet with the regional center, the IF, and the families, just so that they know each part whose role is helps to I enroll in the self-determination. And we see if GT is a good fit for you, because what we don't want is for you to enroll with us and not we can't meet your needs. So we want to make sure that if you choose us, that we have that consultation meeting, so that you are aware of all the things that GT is able to do and the limitations that we have available. So those are the process that we have. Again, there's a lot of things changing in GT, and one of the things that I just want to focus on is just reaching out to us, and so that we can collaborate with one another.
Thanks,
Anything else?
Sylvan.
And we'll have Q&A, so you guys can ask us.
I was just gonna say I'm gonna have Ben present next, and then we'll have Q&A. At which point we're gonna ask people can either put their questions in the chat or they can raise their hand. So if you've got a burning question, feel free to put it in the chat. Also, do look at the chat that there is contact information there for a few of your GT people. So please do look in there. You can find that contact information. Just super quick, I think you already said you don't have a waiting list. Do you have a maximum budget?
No, thank you for bringing that up, Christiana. We don't have budget caps. We can go as high and as low as you want. Again, we do the consultation meeting. We talk about having the best interest of the participant. So we do try to get the families with all their service providers onboarded, because again, what we're looking at is the best interest of the participant. And sometimes the participant doesn't know that once they enter SDP, the traditional services stop. So it's not to the best interest of the participant to enter with just one service provider, because then they're losing, and they're losing all the time to onboard the service provider for the other ones. And then we can that's what we used to do, hit barriers that service provider didn't have the proper documentation, and then the year goes by without having that service provider onboarded. So again, I tell everybody, for us, it's our benefit to get you enrolled, because FMS don't start getting paid until that participant starts entering SDP. But we're not looking at the best interest of the FMS. We're looking at the best interest of the participant, and it isn't the best interest of the participant to just get into SDP just to get into SDP. It's to make sure that you start using all your service providers as soon as possible.
Yeah, we want that smooth transition. We don't want any
Yes,
gap in service. So,
exactly.
well, thank you so much for presenting. I'm going to introduce Ben now. Hold on one second. I got to adjust our little pins here. Um, there you go. Hi, Benjamin. How are you doing?
Doing very good. So excited to be here with you guys today.
Thank you so much for presenting. I know that you had put in the chat your slides. Can you re-put it in? Because if people came in after that, they won't see the old chat. So if you get a chance, or I can copy it down while you're presenting. We'll do that.
Okay, sounds good. And I could do it right after. Well, I just wanted to say I'm super excited to be here presenting with you guys today. SDP, when it originally came out, I remember working with a family during the pilot program, and I was like, wow, what an incredible idea that this is, before I'd actually seen it rolled out. A little bit about myself. My name's Benjamin, or Ben is how I usually go. I'm a BCBA. I've been working in the field for 15 years, which is crazy. To think about how quickly time goes by. And I've also recently had a little guy, so even though I've been working with kids and families for the last 15 years, I have a newfound empathy for families and how tired it can be, not only just to raise a kid, but let alone finding what works for your individual child, getting services in place. So it's definitely a journey in and of itself. But I wanted to go back just to my time when I was working with a family and they were piloting the program. And my time working with in the field of ABA, I've had so many opportunities to cross train with speech providers, OT providers, ed therapists, like so many different therapies. And something that stuck out to me very early on was there's not one service that will do everything, and there's a combination of things. And the most success I ever found was when families really learned to identify that individually for their own kids and not relying on an insurance telling you this is how many hours you get for this and this. Because at the end of the day, parents are the experts of their kids. Like nobody else can take that place. So everybody's got an honorary PhD in your own children. You know what works and what doesn't work specifically for them. Um, so flash forward, it's so awesome to see that we now have like SDP groups and things like this, and it's just so much more mainstream. Thank you, Sullivan and GT Independence also, because from the provider standpoint, sometimes it's like very confusing for us to be like, okay, someone's transitioning to SDP, that's so amazing. Now, how do we make sure there's not a gap in services for us in the process? So we definitely feel that on both sides of the table. So a little bit about SLEA Therapies. We are a multidiscipline therapy organization that serves the greater Los Angeles area. We are as far north of as the San Fernando Valley, and we go all the way down to the South Bay. And we actually have offices up in the Antelope Valley even. Something that's big for our company is trying to find areas where it's very hard for services to be delivered. And looking at starting branches in those areas. So that's why we started our Antelope Valley location. We currently just opened a clinic in Santa Clarita as well, and are moving towards a Culver City space where ABA is also brought in there that will be open in September. But really, at the heart of SLA Therapies is collaboration. All of our leadership team and the heads of the departments are all clinicians. So our CEO is a speech and language pathologist. I'm a BCBA. Our directors for speech and OT also have their doctorate in those programs too. And we've all done the job. So, a lot of therapy companies are kind of being bought out by private equity groups and people who've never worked with a kid in their life. So it's really important for us that we've all done this work and we know what it means to actually make progress. And something that's unique about us too is we're an employee-owned organization. So we're there's not that private equity group that we're trying to have to answer to where it's like it's all about billing and it's all about these numbers. We really do care about the individuals that we work with and believe that when you have a group that's working together, not just ABA or not just speech, you get the best results, which I feel like is at the heart of self-determination as a program. It's like you want people collaborating with one another. So what makes us unique? We are everything's under one roof. It's always nice when I don't have the answers for a kid who might have a reading problem. I can go to our educational therapist, get a consult. We get a lot of requests to do consults from the behavior side of things when, as you know, if your kid is accessing a therapy service, but maybe there's some behavioral issues that are happening or there's not the readiness to learn skills, then they're not really getting the full benefits of that service. So we get called in a lot too to provide some additional consultation for kids that are all within the same roof, even if we're not funded by it. We with the way that different and why I love SDP is insurances are so difficult to work with. There's so many rules, like you can't bill ABA and a speech on the same day, and there's all these different unique things. So we still just feel that it's best when those collaborations are happening. So we just make sure that we're kind of going above and beyond in that regard and that everybody's working together. And big thing with our direction right now is providing access in multiple settings. For some families, the home setting is the best place to do therapy. For some of our families, the home setting is not as great of a place for therapy. And so providing other alternatives for them, whether that's community-based, or clinic-based services as well, or depending on the specific service and the clinical appropriateness, offering telehealth services or even parent training. We also love to do a lot of trainings across our departments. So we work with school districts and different charter schools to train their staff and to support their ongoing professional development as well. So, how are we supporting SDP participants? One, we're really big at SLEA in thinking outside of the box. I think that that's something that SDP definitely represents as well, is that there's not one way to do things and that every child is very different. So we're always really looking to not just individualize things to an individual child, but also their family. Everybody's circumstances are very different. Everybody's cultural values are.
I'm fat. I'm
Um,
real fat.
Yeah, and then once again, we when
I
we're
don't know how
transitioning families to SDP, we just try to be very collaborative with getting the right services within their budget and just making sure that our goals align, and to make sure that we can individualize how you want to see progress for your child as well, to always make sure that there's things are very goal driven for not just your child, but also like what are the goals that you have as a parent, as a family? What would you kind of want to see in a year's time? And then really respecting the family's voice and your vision. It's we're not here to say this is what has to be done. It's like we want to hear what your voice is, what your vision is, and how we can support you in meeting those and meeting that vision. So thank you so much for allowing me to speak a little bit about myself and our organization. This is my contact information. In addition to giving back to the community, I'm always here for free consult and just to touch base if you ever have questions on anything. We also work with Los Angeles Unified and all the nonsense that happens with their IEP process, which I'm sure everybody here has at least dealt with somewhat. So if you ever have any questions on somebody who's been in 1,000 hours of IEPs, feel free to call me, text me, or send me an email.